What am I doing, man? How did I get here? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the most meta video I will ever do. Maybe. There's one on the back burner. I've been thinking about it. Today, I'm doing something that is such a tremendous and unquantifiable waste of time that no one's ever tried to do it before, to my knowledge. And that is to ranking methods. But what is a ranking method? Well, I myself would define it as a categorization or list that clearly defines one thing as better than another. If I organized a group of things by color, that wouldn't be a ranking, that would just be categorizing them. If I organized a group of things by how easily you can use them as a pillow, that would be a ranking, albeit a very strange one. Additionally, when you rank things, there is a form of criteria involved. In that specific instance, how easily they can be used as a pillow is our criteria. Criteria varies from ranking to ranking, but as long as one thing is proclaimed better than the next, that makes it a ranking. But what is the criteria for this list? Well, I've scored all 9 ranking methods in this list based off of 3 criteria. The first is clarity. How organized is the list, and is it clear whether or not something's better than something else? The second is accuracy. Is everything in the right spot, or did something end up way lower than it probably should have been? And lastly is versatility. Does this ranking method work with a bunch of different criteria, or is it pretty restrictive? These 3 criteria are pretty much what I've ranked all of the following ranking methods by. And lastly, once again, before we begin, this video is a tremendous and unquantifiable waste of time. So don't get upset by it, please. To start us off at spot number 9, the very bottom of this list, we have blind ranking. This is that trend on shorts platforms like TikTok where people will take a list of 10 things or so, but they don't actually know what those things are, and they choose a criteria before ranking them. Then they're given one thing at a time and have to rank it without knowing what's coming next. And, I mean, is it fun to do? Sure, but like as a ranking method, this one just sucks. How am I supposed to determine whether or not something's better in a specific instance if I don't know what it's competing against?
I guess I'll go 4. Definitely not better than a bed cushion, but... Oh no! Okay, number 3, we got divorce. That's unfortunate.
It's unfair, it's inaccurate, it's undefinitive, and at the end of the day, it is mostly just guesswork. Also, while we're on the subject of TikTok, if you're watching this video on TikTok, it was most likely stolen from me. So if that's the case, this is my actual account, and this is the account that you're most likely watching this video on. So feel free to come on down and stop supporting a lazy content thief. At spot number 8, we have the iceberg. I'd be pretty surprised if you're not familiar with this method of ranking because it's a very popular genre on YouTube, but just in case, here's a basic breakdown. The top of the iceberg, aka the surface where you can see everything, are where the most well-known things go. And the bottom of the iceberg, aka the hardest area to see, is where the most unknown things go. Then you have a bunch of layers in between that are more often than not segmented, but I have seen a few icebergs where things are kind of just scattered randomly. Iceberg rankings are almost always a breeze to read. You just look at them top to bottom. They're also usually pretty accurate and fair. Things placed in the middle are only relatively known most of the time. But wait, I'm praising the iceberg a lot, so why is it at spot number 8? Well, the thing is that icebergs can only follow one form of criteria. An iceberg list is always ranked from most known to least known, or in some very, very rare cases, least creepy to creepiest. However, those things are typically correlated anyway. You can't rank anything else using an iceberg, otherwise, it's just a tier list. Like, you're just ranking it by a different criteria, in which case you're categorizing it, in which case it's just a tier list. The only thing that makes it an iceberg ranking is the criteria, and also that one background image that every single YouTuber uses for some reason. Is the iceberg a talented player? Yeah, but it is only good at one game. And ranking methods should be used for a variety of things. Shout out to the iceberg, but unfortunately, it lands at spot number 8. At spot number 7, we have the tournament bracket. To summarize, this method is where you take a group of things and have them compete against each other one by one until there is a clear winner. Whatever the criteria is what they're going head to head on, and then you choose a victor out of the 2 until there are no victors left to choose. Wait, that was kind of a bar.
How much swag a flag has.
This list is incredible at determining what is better in a case-by-case basis. but that's all it's good for. The thing with tournament brackets is that it's not always clear what's better than another. Like, obviously what got first place is better than everything else, or so I thought, but we'll get to that. But did something that lost in like round 4 per se, is that better or worse than some other random thing that lost in round 4 on the other side of the aisle? You can do a loser's bracket to get like a definitive best to worst, but not everybody does that when it comes to these. That's not my biggest issue with tournament brackets though, because despite the fact that they are head-to-head competitions, it's probably the most unfair ranking method on this entire list. You can have something that you think should get second place get out on round 1 because it went against whatever you think should be in first place. As a result, you have things ending up way lower than they should be and things ending up way higher than they should be. As an example, me and my friends did a tournament on what is the best movie soundtrack song. But what won wasn't what I thought was the best movie soundtrack song, nor any of them.
We're going JoJo.
Finally, Spider-Man's out of here.
This is not the top 2 I was expecting, but
What the hell is this? What
if this was
Guys,
between,
what is this?
if How to Train Your...
JoJo wins the movie soundtracks thing,
It was the best out of the top 4, sure, but it wasn't what any of us would define as the best out of the entire list. Also, because of this, if you randomize the tournament bracket and do it again, you can have a completely different winner. The only reason this scores out above iceberg and blind ranking is because it works for multiple criteria and because it is somewhat definitive as to what goes where. Like, if you do a tournament bracket with the same 50 things 20 times, you might get, like, a general idea of where things are supposed to go. And that's better than nothing, but, like, that's still not accurate, and it's really unfair to the things being ranked. I thought I was gonna like this one a lot, but the more I think about it, the more beef I have with it. Me and tournament bracket are not on good terms right now. At spot number 6, we have word clouds. Now, I know this isn't really a method by which you rank things, but you can. If you don't know how these work, it's just kind of a cloud of words. Wow. Aren't I good at defining things? But the bigger words are more relevant to whatever the word cloud is. Like, for example, if I were to do one of these for my little logo, the biggest word would be funny. The second biggest word would be handsome. The third biggest word would be just awesome. All jokes aside, this is not that great of a ranking system. You can tell that, like, there's some sort of order. Like, you can tell that there's some things better than others, but it's not clear or definitive by any means. It's very vague and it's very hard to read. You're gonna have a hard time trying to figure out what is better than another thing. If you were to sort through this and actually put it into a list, there would be a clear first and last place. But otherwise, it's just a word salad. Now I'm hungry. At spot number 5, we have, and I'm not kidding, meme templates. The examples that I have, but are definitely not the only ones, are the, like, Mr. Incredible meme and that, like, Galaxy Brain meme. Like, yeah, they're memes, but, like, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, they are a form of ranking something. They're effective and they're simple, but they're too simple. Oftentimes, because it's a meme and you don't want to write out a whole list, they're going to be pretty restricted on how many things you can actually include, which in turn is going to restrict most things that you can rank in them. And because it is a meme, people might have various interpretations of what you're trying to say. Again, it's basic, it works, but it's just like, it's too basic. At spot number 4, we have the pyramid. Think of this like an alternate form of a tier list. It has clear, definitive categories. The downside is that this has to get smaller as it goes up. However many things are ranked at the top of the pyramid have to be less than whatever's ranked in the layer below it. Or similarly, whatever group is ranked at the top of the pyramid has to have less members than whatever group is beneath it. This one's really good for laying out, like, social hierarchies and stuff like that. And you could use it to rank other things, but it just has that one restriction that's gonna make it a little difficult in certain instances. Also, and this problem will come up again when we get to normal tier lists, it's not super clear on what's better than another thing if they're in the same category, so that docks points as well. At spot 3.5, we have alignment charts. Now I hear you, Pixel, did you say 3.5? Yes, I did say 3.5, because I don't know if I should count this one or not. A lot of people suggested that I should, but I really sat down and thought about it. And the fact is that alignment charts are not ranking? Are you organizing things by metrics? Yes, but you're not determining that one thing is better than another. You're more just determining that they fall into different categories. Like, for example, the political compass. If someone's in the top right category of that compass and someone else is in the bottom left category of said compass, no one's better than another by a certain metric. They're just in different categories. Another good example of this is that lawful to chaotic, good to evil chart, right? Because it's not saying definitively that chaotic evil is worse by a certain metric than lawful good. It's just saying that they belong in different spots. However, if we were to go off of the assumption that this is a form of ranking, then it would end up here. The metric that you can score something based off of 2 criteria is pretty interesting and a really neat idea. The problem is that these types of organization are always used for things that have very gray areas, and so it's hard to pinpoint the placement of something. But again, I do like the idea of multiple criteria simultaneously, and it's pretty good at placing things within those criteria. It's just not a ranking method, but I felt like I needed to mention it. At spot number 3, we have leaderboards. Right off the bat, these are extremely fair. In this case, I'm specifically referring to lists that are categorized by an individual score, for lack of a better term. For example, this thing gets a rating of 3 stars, but this thing gets a rating of 5 stars. Therefore, this thing is above this thing. It's a leaderboard. This also means it's very organized and very easy to read. This also includes a lot more than you might think it does. Again, any form of scoring, whether it be sports or video games, would fall under this. Star ratings or percentage ratings would fall under this. Even voting would fall under this, because if one thing gets voted more than another thing, it's a leaderboard, because it got more votes. It encompasses more than I thought it did, and you might be asking yourself, well, why not just do a numbered list? But the thing is that this is a numbered list the same way that a pyramid is a tier list. There is one thing about this that separates it from a numbered list for me, and that is the fact that because you're objectively comparing the 2 scores of 2 things, you can't subjectively rank anything on a leaderboard. You just have to look at the scores 2 things got and then compare them, and whichever did better goes above the other. It is a purely objective list. Now, could we get really technical and say like, oh, I subjectively rate this a 7 and I subjectively rate this a 10, therefore it's subjectively above the other thing? But like, I'm gonna make the technical argument that like it's objectively above the other thing because 10 is bigger than 7, not because you subjectively... I'm just rambling. I'm sitting here in my room talking about ranking methods. I don't know how we got here. Anyway. Spot number 2 goes to everybody's favorite, the tier list. What's not to love? It has clear, definitive categories, and it's usually pretty indicative if something's better than another. It's also very easy to read, very easy to digest, and the colors make it almost kind of fun. Now, the thing is that there's kind of a cultural divide when it comes to tier lists. Some people will just toss things into tiers and say that it's a part of the tier, while other people will be super meticulous and say that because something is sorted to the left of another within that given tier, it's better than the other thing. Now, every definition of a tier list that I could find never specified whether or not this version of it is how it's actually meant to be. So as far as I'm aware, you don't have to specify if something's better than another thing within a certain tier. You can, you absolutely should if you want it to be a clear list, but even I know that I'm guilty of not doing that all the time. And so because of this, while it might be a very clear, easy to understand and digestible tier list, it's not a very definitive tier list. It's an effective ranking system. It does its job, and it does its job really well, but it just falls short of expectations sometimes. Shout out to the tier list, I love ya, but because we're just not clear on how to use you, you've been put here. And so when you think about it, it's really society's fault. So what's at spot number 1? Spot number 1. What do you think? There is quite literally only like half a downside to the numbered list. It's organized, it's understandable, it's simple, and it's thorough. Something at spot number 6 is worse than something at spot number 2. The previously mentioned half a downside is that there's just not any like broader categories to put the numbered things into, but that's not like a huge deal. If I know that something at spot number 20 is worse than something at spot number 7, it doesn't really matter whether or not the thing at spot number 20 is in D or F tier. It helps, and it's a nice little clarifying addition, but it's not a necessity. I don't have much to say. We all know what numbers are, at least I hope we do. And I mean, while this system of ranking is simple, it's also the clearest, fairest, and most versatile. This very ranking list is a numbered list. Like, surely I wouldn't use a worse ranking method to rank ranking methods, right? But what if I were to do this list of ranking methods with the other 9 ranking methods? Well, if you want to see that, that's a second channel video that you can go watch now. There's also a Q&A video I recently posted. That's pretty cool if you want to check that out. But that's all there is to say. That's my list of ranking methods. I'm gonna go take a nap and reconsider my life decisions.